I thought you were up there.
Well, I was up there, but I just changed.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. I was
Good.
I'm working. Brought you a cookie.
What, you did you?
Chocolate chip cookie.
What a sweet guy, man. I got my coffee here, too, and you bring me a nice chocolate chip cookie.
Beautiful.
You're a sweetie. Huh?
Beautiful. Oh, thanks.
Nobody else brings me anything.
I thought
You just give me a hard time.
There you go. Well, that's my job.
No, my job is to give you a hard time, okay?
Oh, good luck.
I know. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
Good. You're open still, huh?
We open Thursday, yeah.
Oh, you just reopened for Thursday?
Are we live?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, beautiful. We're always live.
Always. As soon as you get in, it is live.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
It's like the cash cab.
Isn't it?
How much money am I going to make today?
Oh, I wish I could offer you some, man.
If I answer the questions right?
Yeah, exactly. So, you just keep running. You just keep doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a creature of habit, I guess. I've run something natural. This is like my 38th summer.
How long you been a selectman?
This is my 6th year.
Okay.
And I had a 2001 to like 2003. I was a selectman the first go round.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got out of it, and now you're back.
Yeah, I got out. I took my kids to soccer and was a dad for a while, and then came back.
And so this will be your third
term. In between, I served on the FinCom, and before my first run, I served on as the co-chair of the comprehensive plan.
Right.
Which was that was what really got me interested in it.
Right. Now, experience.
Experience. I feel like I'm kind of a policy wonk. Is
that how you look at it?
I don't know if I look at it, but someone told me last night, and I thought, oh, that's a good line. Maybe I can use that. But I like the policy. I like trying to.
You read everything, don't you?
I read everything.
I noticed that during the selectmen's meetings.
Yeah,
you actually seem to.
I read everything. I read more than that. Like on the resiliency stuff, I read books from, the Dutch and Holland, and I do some of that stuff because I enjoy it.
Do you think the board should read more?
I don't know that
are they prepared
more.
How do you do it then?
Well, I don't do much else besides being at work and selectment.
Okay.
That's how I do it. My kids are older now, and I haven't gone on vacation, and
right.
I sort of, I kind of get stuck at the things I do. Mm-hmm. And Sheila's my wife's a pattern person too. She gets up and bakes sourdough bread every day now and tells me how much better it is.
Sheila is?
She's been baking sourdough. She got a license to bake sourdough. She sells like 6 or 8 loaves a day, but
she's working down there with you?
Well, not with me. This is her own thing. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, not
I was going to say, man, you guys. That's great to hear, man.
Yeah, no.
Romance is back.
Oh, I don't know. If she sees that, it certainly won't be.
All right, let's get into the issues, Matt. Give me your thoughts about Surfside Crossing.
Oh, I think it's too dense. I think it's inappropriate. But I think that it's unfortunate. I went out and I saw Jamie made phone calls to people and said, "Oh, come out, we're doing this great thing." And I went out, and this was I was like the 4th or 5th person to see him. I'll go see anybody. And I said, "Jamie, it's too dense, and the condos, the apartment buildings don't fit in that area, and it's too dense. But if you make it more like Sachem's or like Beach Plum, and maybe make some of them duplexes, like say it was 70 dwellings and 10 of those are duplexes or 15 were duplexes, they'd still have about the same amount, and I think they do, it would be better for the neighborhood, it'd be better for the island." And I said, and he's like, "Well, no, that's not what we're doing. I was told that we need these apartment buildings. I'm following what I was told," all this stuff. And I'm looking at it going, how are you going to sell $2 million market homes next to 4 condos, next to 4 apartment buildings? Like they've already got the right pattern. They've got the, Beach Plum, I have employee housing. Sheila and I lived next to it for like 2 or 3 years when they were building it. It's fine. Okay. It fits the neighborhood. So why would you try to do something way different?
Well, they have a business plan.
They do, but their business plan could be.
Well, what's the objective of the business plan?
Well, the objective of the business plan is to make $20 million,
exactly.
or $25 million.
Okay, let's call it like it is.
It is.
So,
which is what.
How do we help them make the money they want and keep density down?
Well, I think that they can do it. From what I understood when the first conversation, I think they could do it without the apartment buildings, and that part of it was going to cost them more because they were giving a break on it and all this. I worry for them that whether they're going to be able to sell those apartment buildings, the $2 million homes, the market homes, for the same price next to a bunch of apartments. I think beach club is a great thing. These guys have a chance to be heroes. I think that they could prove, because there's such a demand for the tourist homes, that they could make their money, still do 25% affordable, or maybe more at a couple other tiers, and still make a ton of money. And so that's my hope. I hope that through this process, something like that comes out. Because I know that, I know everyone's mad at them and everyone hates them right now, but I don't. I think they're actually pretty good guys, and they're doing what the law says and what they want to do.
All right. Yeah.
So anyway.
Sure. All right. So what about this new article proposal by Tobias and Rick? 20 million, is it?
Yeah,
the 20 million.
We bumped the select board bumped the proposal up to 20 million.
Okay.
I think it's, I support it. I support it from the beginning. I worked with Toby and Rick a little bit in the, beginning phases of it, and some of the numbers, and I had some questions about how many of them, of the ones you picked, Toby sold. So we found out how many sold, and it was like 3 or 4, sold out of year-round into seasonal.
Okay.
So that's what, for every 10 or 11 houses, we're losing 3 to seasonal.
Right.
So it's something like that. So they're 30%, something like that.
Right.
So I think what they're offering to do makes a sense on a lot of levels. It's first I'll give it where it makes sense. The comp plan we did consensus building, and the consensus building was talking. What came out of it strong and clear is people didn't want sort of pockets of affordable housing. They wanted it spread through the island. This allows us to do that. It also, it's appropriation. It's not a guaranteed expenditure. If we find we don't need it, if we find we hit the shy through other means, then we don't have to use the money.
Okay.
And then also, once they're done, like say we get a bond for 20 years or 30 years, whatever it is, the rental homes, which is absolutely needed. And we need a good stock of rental homes, because you need to be able to turn people over. Not everyone's going to own a home. And
that's right.
So the rental homes, I think, are absolutely crucial, and it would become an income stream in 20 or 30 years.
Well, are we going to run it? Is the town going to run this?
No, the town won't run it. There'll be a manager. There'll be. Is
that a town job though? Is that another town expense?
Well, it depends who you talk to. I think Housing Nantucket, there'd be an RFP and people could vote on it. Could bid on it. I'm guessing Housing Nantucket would do that. They do a very good job of sort of qualifying applicants, of doing lotteries, doing the nuts and bolts, the administrative part.
Yeah.
And so the town won't need to do that necessarily. I think for housing in the big picture, though, we need to think a lot bigger than we are. The shy is 10%.
Are we being forced to think bigger than we are, Matt? I mean, the state says you've got to reach this certain amount of limit, right? And when we meet that limit, that's the limit.
No, but see, that's the point I'm making.
Okay.
Is if you want to have and it doesn't have to necessarily be all us buying it and everything. It could be just putting zoning rules in place or ownership rules. Every second dwelling could be year-round, or you don't build it. I mean, there's different things you could do. That's an extreme example. It almost passed, but I know that's a third rail.
Okay.
But there's things we should start thinking about: inclusionary zoning and in other ways, buy-down programs, other ways, because places like out in Vancouver, Whistler, or Aspen have the same issues as us. They're at the end of end of 82 in Aspen. It's an hour and a half to get down that road. So it's basically an island between some mountains.
Right.
They don't target 10% of their year-round, which is sort of 10% of the year-round, which is like 2.5% of the total.
Right.
Or 33% of the total, whatever. They 30% of the total. They're targeting 50 or 60% of their total housing stock.
Why? Because
that's what you need to have a community. Like you're 10. Like,
but wait a minute.
10%
people
of our
are
year-round
buying here to get away from that. Don't you think that the people that buy here they don't want that. They want the exclusivity. Nantucket's become the place for them to be exclusive with their friends.
Well, that's what the tourist home market wants. That's what we're selling.
That's what
to the high-end market.
Right.
Put a pool and it's worth $1 million more.
You got it.
But that's not. but that's not the things that the year-round community loves. So what we love about it is the diversity and
You don't think it's too late? I mean, we should have done this 20 years ago.
We should have, and we talked about it, and we didn't. It didn't happen.
And you don't think it's too late?
That would be giving up. What are we going to do? Put another high speed in the morning? And have 2 high speeds or 3 high speeds?
Well, some people would say yes, because they're worried that if we build too much affordable housing, when the boom is done, there's going to be a glut of housing that's available, and it's all going to be,
I think the demand,
vacation rentals.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the houses, all the places that right now that everyone says will never be vacation rentals, sort of, my property on Fairgrounds and Hooper Farm and all that, that's all going to be gentrified. And unless we have rules in place that, encourage year-round and some sort of, year-round housing, unless we figure that out, we're going to have to do the other thing. And I just think it's... So anyway, it's a big topic, but I think we need to think bigger on it.
Should we sewer Mattocket?
Oh boy, not necessarily. It's so expensive, and you look at the resiliency. You look at some of the charts and what's going to happen, with X amount of sea level rise over the next number of years, and Mattocket could end up being an island. So we can end up with sewer pipes going into the...
How much is it that would cost us? Was it $100 million?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was 80 or 100.
Unreal.
It was some huge number, and I don't think... I'm not so sure we should be sewering out there, especially when you take into consideration the sea level rise and the stuff that's happening. Mm-hmm. Another one that go to Mattocket, we're talking about the landfill.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Go into that.
There's my segue.
Yeah.
The same thinking, I think, applies to the landfill now. When you look at the maps and X amount of sea level rise, Long Pond is already up against the landfill already. The line cell is a stone's throw away. What happens if that happens? Are we going to have to dig all that back out so it's not rolling into the ocean? I mean, so we're going to be talking about coming forward. We have to start thinking about how do we handle our landfill? How do we handle our garbage? And and I think that we should be thinking about a transfer station.
20 years ago,
airport.
You said 20 years ago, if we had started thinking about affordable housing in our community the way we want it to be, we should have done that,
yes.
Right? Yes. I think we're at the exact same time where we have to start doing something about the garbage and the products that we hold our food in.
Right.
I mean, that.
Right.
You got to go back to glass.
But it's not.
We can
100%.
do it.
We can. We can do a lot better. We can do a lot better. But there's a transition phase. Even if we did the best we could do, there's a transition phase. Just took a tour through the Stop and Shop.
What do you see? How long? How many years do we have to wait? What transition?
I don't think we have to wait.
Can we do something right away? I mean, there must be something we can do right away and still call it a transition phase.
Well, one of the things you could do right away is, we could transfer everything off the island right away.
Okay, that was brought up.
Yeah, we could just everything could go off the island.
Well, that's just kicking it down the can down the road, isn't it?
Not necessarily, because
who's going to
it depends who you send it to.
Yeah.
If you send stuff to the right places, 85% of it. If you send it off recycled properly, 85% of it is reused. Or some number like that. Some transfer stations don't. Some of them off island. Some of them take it and send it somewhere else.
Okay.
But there are some that do a very good job. But the thing that is happening in this issue, you and I have talked about this. Some of the things that people think are good, kind of like the bottled water. Oh, the bottled water, look at it, it's not in plastic, aren't we wonderful? Well, the bottled water is made out of, it's got a metal liner, it's got a plastic top, even if it's a biodegradable, it's a plastic top, and it's got cardboard. Well, you have to separate the three things.
What about glass?
Only 2 places in
Let's go back to glass.
Two places in North America can do those boxed waters.
Yeah.
So they're worse than the plastic bottles. The plastic bottles can be reused. And we have a way to reuse them now.
Well, then go back to glass, because I know for a fact that Coca-Cola in Africa went from glass to plastic simply to save money, and it has created a major problem for these folks there.
Yes.
Okay, it was not necessary. They wanted to save money. It's profit before people. It's the same old thing. Everybody wants to make a buck. You know, and at some point it's going to cost us more at the tail end than it is now if we don't start making some shit.
But if you're gonna do that properly, if you're gonna go do the analysis properly,
Yeah.
you have to look at how much does it cost in fuel and other factors to cart that glass all around. How much fuel are you burning? You know, if you're delivering it on electric trucks, and all those electric trucks have been powered by windmills, then you and I are on the same page. If you're delivering all with diesel and
But that's
gas
no
cars,
excuse to
It isn't.
continue to
It
make
isn't.
things out of poison.
Nope.
I mean, look,
It isn't. I agree
the
with you.
insects are dying, the
Yeah.
bees are dying, plastic
Yes.
is destroying the ocean. The fish are eating the particles of plastic. It's just we haven't made the turn yet.
No, we haven't, and I agree with all those
We've got
things
to
you're
make
saying.
the turn now. You see, you hear about this Green New Deal. I mean, sure, it's adventurous. Of course, it's big, but it's really where we're going to have to go.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so let's go into water quality. What about fertilizers?
I think it's terrible. We had a committee and they did a really good job. They did some training, but sometimes it's not just enough to train. You got to have a carrot and a stick. You got to do both.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't have the stick.
Right.
No one wants to be the bad guy.
Right.
None of us do.
Right.
As soon as you can hire someone else to be the bad guy for you, you do.
It's this. I think it's a mentality that people have to be taught, and then they have to believe in it. Where
Yes.
when I buy something, whatever it is,
Right.
where does it end up? What if I buy this piece of plastic?
Right.
Where is it going to end up when I'm done with it?
Right.
I mean, we need to know for sure where it's going to go and what's the benefit of it.
Did you see the Garfield phones in France that fell off a boat 30 years ago?
No.
These are
Okay.
remember the Garfield character?
Yeah, of course.
They're rolling up on the shores of France 30 years later.
Oh my
They were stuck in some cave and slowly rolling out, and they still look brand new. Like you said, they're going to last a million. They're
Unbelievable.
going to last 100,000 years.
Yeah. All right. What about our island home?
Our island home. Again, if you look at resiliency, look at look at the sea level rise and the other issues we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think we had the right idea before. I met with some of the residents at Sherman Commons the other day. They would love to see the island home out in their area. They would love to see a senior center out in their area. It was like the biggest thing they wanted to talk about. And so I think that we need to, try to do that. Mm-hmm. And people think I'm against the island home. Now the real key on all this is how do you operate it? And so how do we operate it in a financially sustainable manner? And forget it. Maybe let's pretend money isn't an issue at all. We'll pay whatever it takes. You still have to hire people. So if we're going to do this, we have to have the right model, which isn't just the greenhouse model. All right, great, we do the greenhouse. That and then you got to get all the union concessions for that, and to get them to agree. You also need to be able to find employees.
Yeah.
So we have to include housing in the model. And if we do those things, and Libby, to her credit, is working on that. They're working at what the management model will be, how we'll have to do it. To the credit, they're doing it. But if we do that, then, and what I've said all along is building a building, getting a vote and building a building is easy. Managing an
Paying
operation.
for it isn't that easy, though.
Well,
right? I mean,
it
gonna be
isn't.
very expensive.
It will be very expensive, and paying for it ongoing, if it's going up 10% a year, will kill us. So you got to do it right. And
All right.
That's kind of. So what I've been sort of trying to force through all of this, I'm trying to force us and the staff and everyone to get the model and say, how are we going to do it? How is it going to be affordable? Like, we can get a vote at town meeting. Everyone likes the beaches. Everyone likes old people. We vote for that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's hard to run. I run a bakery, a sandwich shop, 50 employees. If I didn't house 35 of them, I'd be out of business.
Yeah.
The town is having the
You
same
have to
issues.
house them.
You have to house them, and no amount of money, no amount of wage is enough if there's nowhere for them to live.
Okay. Are you in favor of universal health care?
Yes.
Okay. If we had universal health care, I think it would include nursing home care at the end of your life.
Right.
I think we would all share in that,
Right.
in taking care of, as a collective,
Right.
You know,
And if you did it as a collective, then
exactly.
but
We
then
would not have to worry about this.
Well,
it would be more peace of mind for the town.
Well, that is a little Pollyannish, because if the politicians off island they can still cap the amount they give you. If they want to spend it on bombs or something else,
Well,
and not give it to
obviously.
you. I understand. So that's what happens. And we do the same thing here sometimes. Our HDC is our HDC and our Park and Rec are not funded like they used to be.
The peace of mind of having universal health care, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
We wouldn't have to even worry about it. They'll be taken care of.
Well,
we'll make sure we take care of them.
As long as we fund it properly.
Well, yes, of course.
And that's so that's the and we can all wish for that and wish it's funded high enough. But right now we've got the situation of how do we operate it properly now? How do we in that building?
Yeah.
Well, the day we built it, we had to get a waiver. The rooms are too small the day we built it, and we knew it. So it's if we're going to do it this time, let's not repeat those mistakes. Let's do it right, and let's know how we're going to run it, how many people it's going to take, how we can house enough of them. The hospital's housing its staff.
Yeah. Hey, what about traffic? Are we more concerned about getting these properties built as soon as possible? Like, for instance, the pool issue, okay?
Right.
I know for a fact, because I know people in the pool business, that with Fritz's article, there has been a boom in requests to build
building
pools.
is good. The
Pool business is very hot right now. So are we doing the same thing when we're building housing, where we're more concerned about getting the sale and starting the job and getting it done for the people instead of taking care of our roads and making sure that our roads are ready for the amount of traffic that's going to be on them?
Well, our roads aren't ready for the amount of traffic that's going to be on them. Okay. So that we knew that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And we didn't want, we sort of didn't want to believe it. I put the article in to limit cars because I read those numbers and I realized this isn't going to work, and let's do it now while we can and get ahead of it. And people, and a few, got voted twice at town meeting, but it didn't really get anywhere. And in looking at it now, people are like, "Oh, we need to limit cars," and I think people, the general populace now is saying, "How do we do it?" Now, of course, they want the rich people, the off island as the tourists don't get cars, and we get as many as want. Well, you can't do it like that. It has to be,
Sure.
fair, and sort of. I thought how I was going to do it was fair. I think, it's how do I say it? There's unpopular things we have to do, even if we could limit it, which we're allowed to. At least my attorneys I talked to 20 years ago said we could. There's still things we could do, like downtown, even though it can be, gridlocked sort of around the middle. There's so many ways. It's a grid pattern. There's so many ways to get in and out. It's not the same as trying to go down Surfside or Old South, or where there's only one choice. Mm-hmm. So we have to, at some point, recognize that Nantucket is an urban environment, that the Mid-Island, all the way out to the airport, all our town, quote-unquote town areas are urban, and start treating them like urban environments. Start connecting roads, and now that isn't popular in the different neighborhoods, because people say, I don't want anyone speeding through mine. Well, speeding you can handle by designing the road right, putting trees, putting houses close to the road, doing things differently. But if you design it in a suburban pattern, it's a raceway. So that, it's sort of...
And affordable housing anywhere near the Stop and Shop means that people will walk there instead of getting in their cars.
Exactly. When I hear stuff like, it's density is the only thing, no density anywhere. Well, we're really dense downtown. It's 7 or 8, units an acre.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right.
And it's the most beloved built pattern in America. It's what new urbanism was based on: Savannah, Georgia, Nantucket, Augusta, Florida. Those are the places, Augustine, whatever is Florida.
Yeah.
Those are the places that people love and we're trying to copy. And here we are trying to copy Providence, Rhode Island, which is where our zoning came from, through our Mid-Island. We should we need to change our mindset and adopt form zoning, adopt sort of new urbanist principles, and start figuring out how to when we build out sort of Hooper Farm or Fairgrounds, they should be, they should be places that remind you of downtown eventually. It's going to happen. Nat Lowell's calling it, what is it? The new dirt. He looks at those lots and calls it the new dirt, because those are the lots that the houses get taken away, and the swimming pools and the big houses are going to go there.
You got it.
Who thought?
Right. Right.
You know.
2 seats are available.
Oh, my other traffic. The other traffic.
Okay.
I have
Sure.
another good story.
Sure.
I went to Aspen, Colorado. Took my son out to Colorado. You probably heard this.
No, you mean this winter?
Yeah, I took him
okay.
this winter. He was home, you know, sleeping till 4 in the afternoon, playing Fortnite. You know, young adult.
Yeah.
You know, so if I didn't like drive him out there, he wasn't leaving.
Get him out of the house.
He wasn't leaving. So
Yeah.
he's out there. He's skied 70 days out of 80. He's had a great winter.
Oh, wow.
And so we went out there, and I got out there, and we went to Aspen because I had spent time 30 years ago, and Aspen has changed quite a bit. It's they've got the street lights and the this and that. It was it was a small city, and then we went in the bus lanes and everything else. Then we went to Telluride, and I'd been spent some time there, and back in the same era, it was about the same, but it had grown too. There was a lot of buildings, a lot of things happened. And the far side of the mountain, which was just starting to be developed when I was first there, has, it's now a small town of its own right, 1,000, 2,000 people with a bunch of businesses and, rental buildings and things, rental condos. But the traffic is less. And I'm thinking, what did they do? They put a gondola from the main town over to the new, over the mountain, free gondola that anyone can take. Dogs, kids, anyone.
Bicycles?
Bicycles. Yep, you can get a gondola up and go mountain biking down the mountain in the summer.
That's fantastic.
And the guy who did it was a guy, Rich Salem, who's friends with the Giffords down here.
Okay.
And he owned Wearguard, and he owned the bagel company before I bought it back in the day. So he went out there, and he helped them start a land trust. And he said, but the thing Nantucket isn't dealing with is its traffic, and we're going to do something about it. And he did. So he put a gondola in. So I've been saying, what is our gondola?
Yeah, right.
Because the gondola out there, and it took away something like 40 million traffic trips in the last 20 years, back and forth from the two places.
Yeah.
Buses and car trips.
Yeah.
And a lot of them drunken because people were drinking at one and going home to the other, vice versa. And so I'm saying, what is our gondola? How do we set up something like that's better than a car?
What do you mean by that? Would the gondola go from Mid-Island back to town?
Yeah, maybe it's the airport to Mid-Island to town. Is it a gondola? Is it I don't know the answer, but I just know that we have to start thinking, if you want people to get out of their cars, what you give them has to be as convenient or more convenient, and they have to. It has to be better for them. They have to say, hey.
Well, don't the buses do that? I mean,
well, no, they're
supposed to.
They're supposed to, but the way we're doing our buses, they won't, because they're stuck in the same traffic the cars are.
All right, good. I'm glad you brought that up. Now, there's 2 seats available.
Yes.
You're going to take one, let's say, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not so certain I'm going to take one.
Well, we'll see.
I am nervous because I think, we had to meet the candidates last night and yesterday afternoon, and there's some really good candidates, and I think there's some youth, and I'm not so certain. I'm not so sure.
All right. Well, who else do you like? If you were to pick one, which one is it? Which is the one you pick?
There's different strains. I think Tobias is great. Toby's got vision. He's always kind of got the vision. He's but he's a bit he's a bit of a dreamer, and you need that. All right. And I think Christy Ferrantella had a really good opening yesterday.
Okay.
I thought she could be very good. I think Jill seems to be at one. I think her issue is a hot issue, and Jill Veith, and she's got the tipping point people behind her, and she has political experience. So I'm not sure if I don't know if one issue is going to be to get her in, but but it's important enough it might. I like Charity. I like Fran. So it's sort of I don't think we've got a lot of good choices. Sometimes we don't.
Very well said. Yeah. Politically, you covered the bases.
I tried to, but no, but
I asked you to pick one, and the first one was Tobias. So that tells me something.
Wow, I like Toby.
Okay,
and I like. All right. I would say right now I'd say it's probably Toby and Christy.
Okay, good.
But do you ask all them that?
I ate.
Did you ask all them the same question?
Of course I did.
Okay.
I couldn't give them.
Anyone picking me?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Oh, so there you
I
go.
know. You'll have to watch.
Right.
You'll have to watch.
It's a teaser.
It's a teaser, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it.
But if I'm not there, not there, I think there'd be a hole. That's how I look at the board, and I say I think I've got experience. I'm independent. I can be a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
I'll ask a lot of questions, and I can, I'll be a bit of a pain to the administration or to applicants or to whoever if I think, if I just don't feel right about something.
Yep.
So I think and I have history. I've sort of been involved in this stuff for 30 years now, and I love it. So I think if I wasn't there, I'd feel, if there was if Rick Atherton or someone else were running or were already in, I'd feel a little better because I think there'd be some continuity. But I think I'd be worried if I wasn't elected because I think I think that it's when you first get in, you can be easily swayed and do things that maybe you look back later and go, wish I didn't do that.
That pretty much sums up what you would want to say to the voter. Is that kind of true? Because I have one more question. I didn't ask them, but because you're on the board now, how do you feel about Jim leaving? I mean, what have you got to say about Jim?
Jim is a loss. And and again, if Jim had stayed on, there wouldn't be quite as big a hole if I weren't there. I don't mean that in a cocky way.
To me,
his strength is more. His strength is more of a institutional and a strategic planning. He had a difficulty. He's used to working in places where things show up, and they've been really well researched and really well done. So he at first had a little difficulty because sometimes the bigger the issues, the less information we get and the less it's really been dug into because it's hard to do that and who's qualified and where's the money and really not even the money, where's the time to do it.
Right.
So he's used to that kind of world, and I think it was hard, but I think he was a real.
You pretty much knew what he was. When he said something, you kind of knew where he was coming from, and he wasn't holding back either. A lot of times.
No,
he let you know how he thought.
Yeah.
So I respected him for that.
I think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to have him.
Yep. Okay, buddy. Well, listen.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
Yep.
Love seeing you.
Good to see you.
All right, buddy.
Thanks.
Take care.